Hello everyone, my name is Leah Smith and today I'll be introducing you to the disaster management system of Romania. I first wanted to discuss how Romania's form of government plays a specific role in the disaster management system of Romania. So the fall of communism, which happened in 1989, led to a reinvention of the Romanian government. Romania went from being a communist reform to a democratic republic, which allowed for the shift of power between national and local governments. Power that was allocated toward lower levels of governments equaled better preparedness in the event of a disaster, because events that happened while Romania was underneath communist governance wasn't quite equipped for preparing Romania in the event of a natural disaster. In 1977, an earthquake struck Francia, Romania. This disaster was devastating to the point that it cost Romania 1.8 billion in euros, just one nation alone. This tragic event would lead to the improvement of Romania's disaster management system, however. Originally, whenever Romania first endured the earthquake of 1977, the government tried to issue seismic code designs, which would try and aim to build more resilient infrastructure of regions that were susceptible or had a vulnerability to earthquakes. However, the lack of communication and power between the national and local governments inhibited seismic codes. So areas that were in great need of resilient buildings and homes had to go without, unfortunately, due to the expense of a government that lacked the communication that was necessary. So the structure that Romania was in need of in order to overcome or be better prepared for the event of a natural disaster was absent. However, as a democratic republic, Romania's susceptibility to natural disasters, of course, didn't change. However, when an earthquake struck Francia again in 2014, Romania was able to develop and implement something known as the Pool Against Natural Catastrophes, or PAID, P-A-I-D, which was a mandatory homeowners insurance, which basically served as an insurance for homeowners insurance. In the event that a disaster would strike, people would not lose their homes. When taking a look at Romania's history of earthquakes, it becomes prevalent and quite noticeable that when Romania was underneath a communist structure of government, where only the national government had power, the government wasn't able to respond effectively in the event of a natural disaster. However, when Romania was operating underneath a democratic republic, as it remains today, Romania was much better equipped to handle situations as they unfolded in the event of a natural disaster. In addition to earthquakes, Romania experiences extreme flooding. In 2008, for example, the overflowing of the Zaret and Prut rivers killed 76 people and ended up costing 1.66 billion euros in damages alone. Additionally, the earthquakes that happened in Francia not once but twice in 1977 and 2014 cost Romania 1.8 billion euro in damages. Due to Romania's susceptibility toward earthquakes and flooding, Romania's disaster response system is developed in a top-down method, which is designed to enhance and prioritize civil protection. We have in Romania what is known as the National Emergency Management System, which overheads the entire disaster response system. The NEMS is designed to implement response, prevention, recovery, and mitigation mechanisms. This is divided into three categories among the government, which are national, ministerial, and local. Within the NEMS, we have three categories. The Prime Minister functions in the head, which is supported by the National Committee for Emergency Situations. In the event that an emergency arises, The Prime Minister is the one to send out the executive orders. Second, we have the administrative body. This is also referred to as the General Inspectorate for Emergency Situation, or GIES. This administrative body holds the responsibility of formulating and enacting operations that are responsible for aiding the population. They also oversee risk assessment, risk management, prevention, preparedness, response, and restoration mechanisms. Lastly, we have a lower level. This withholds the local and state governments. Here, the local and state governments reserve the role of preparing citizens for disasters through education and training. Often, the lower level is supported mostly by non-governmental organizations. Perhaps one of the most significant functions of the state and local governments in Romania during the event of a disaster are the additional adherences to civil protection. Groups of individuals, whether that be families or companies in Romania, are encouraged to strategize their own emergency plans and procedures immediately following the strike of a disaster. For example, a group of volunteers came together and formulated what is known as Code for Romania, which serves as an application that all citizens have access to for disaster alerts. Code for Romania serves as an example of how the Romanian disaster management system prioritizes its communication not just among government officials, but among citizens and government officials as well. Civil protection remains as one of the highest priorities in Romania's disaster management system. Romania is partnered with the World Bank to provide management policies that help equip Romania with resilient emergency response facilities. The Vision 2020 project is aimed to improve emergency disaster response times, which focuses on training and educating of emergency response teams, updating equipment used for emergency response teams, and Vision 2020 emphasizes improved methods for communication among governmental officials responsible for coordination, organization, and implementation. Vision 2020 also increases European Union involvement as well, because all of these factors are examples of civil protection. In conclusion, the process of implementing an effective, reliable, resourceful, and successful disaster management plan isn't simple by any means. Oftentimes,